Good evening, everyone. We're going to, it's 7 o'clock, so we're going to begin here. If the candidates could come forward and take their places, we'll begin then. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening to Christ Church. This evening's forum is a joint effort by Grace United and ourselves and questions from the community. And I want to welcome Reverend Stephen Fram of Grace United, who will be moderating. The two of us will be guiding the conversation. As we gather, let us pause to remember that in this region, we live and work on lands that are the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. May we live with respect on this land and live in peace with its people. Just a few housekeeping items. Washrooms are at the very back to my right. So there's the one washroom at the very back to my right. In case of a fire, there's two exits, one at the very back, the main door, and then just through this exit sign here is the second one. This event is being live streamed, and then it will be archived on YouTube for viewing. Our practice has been to gather written questions from the audience and to ask them, as time allows, of our candidates. So at the back, please feel free to write your clear and concise question on the notes at the back of the church. Volunteers at the back will gather those questions, and the cutoff time for that is 8 o'clock. So if you do wish to write a question, please feel free to do so. Then we'll gather them up for later. Candidates will rotate speaking, beginning in alphabetical order, and have time limits. Opening remarks, each candidate will have 1 minute. Prepared questions, each candidate will have 1.5 minutes. Questions gathered tonight from the audience, each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. And then there'll be the closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute to make a closing statement. The candidates will be given a 15-second warning with a yellow paper. We have the yellow paper there. And at the end of their time, a pink paper will go up, and that is the signal for their mic to be cut off. We wish this forum will be conducted in a respectful atmosphere. If any candidate is heckled or disrupted, the clock will be reset, or stopped rather, and reset, and the candidate will have again the full time to answer. If there are any major disruptions, we'll ask those individuals to leave. If the request is not adhered to, if we need to call the appropriate authorities, we will do so. We'll ask if everyone will hold their applause until the very end, so that gives everyone time to answer as many questions as possible. As well, I guess we're going to begin. We have all the candidates have been invited. Isabella Bade of the Conservative Party declined to participate. Everyone was invited, and so we have these wonderful people up here with us. And let's begin. So let's go to our opening statements, and we're going to go in alphabetical order with Darren beginning.
Thank you very much, and welcome to this absolutely beautiful church. I'm so thrilled to be here today and see you all. It's so beautiful out. It's a testament to the fact that you've all decided to come here to hear us tonight. My name is Darren Fisher. I'm the incumbent, and it's been the honor of my life to to represent this community of Dartmouth Cole Harbour. I love this place. I love the people. I love the fact that Eastern Passage Cow Bay has been brought now in under the umbrella of Dartmouth Cole Harbour. This is a very consequential, very important election. It seems like it's a bit of a two-way race if you are following the news, and a decision will be needed to be made by folks that haven't yet voted on who they want to represent them, who they want to govern this country as we go forward. So looking forward to this evening. Again, thank you all, and thanks to the organizers for putting this together.
Michelle.
Good evening. Thank you very much for attending this evening. I'd like to introduce myself as Michelle Lindsay, the candidate for the People's Party of Canada. This is my third election. The first election I started with the new party in 2019. The second election was 2021, where I received 10.4% of the vote, which is great for a new party. And then I decided to run again because I am afraid for my family's economic well-being. And I see problems within our nation. I see inflation. I see bloated government. I see censorship. I see overreach. And I see a problem with housing and job security. So that's why I'm running tonight. And I would like to say the People's Party isn't going to form government. However, you can have a strong voice for this riding working for you in the House of Commons. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Keith.
Hi, everyone. My name is Keith Morrison. I'm the NDP candidate here in Dartmouth Cole Harbour. I currently live in Eastern Passage. I've lived in a few different places throughout the riding. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I was born in Cape Breton. So I expect to almost run out of time many times tonight, if to not go over. I spent 5 years in the classroom as a teacher. I then joined the Navy. All throughout, I've tried to work in the arts field as much as I can. I've also been in the history field. I'm extremely involved in community in many different ways. I'm a lifelong volunteer. I have a true passion for community. I have a passion for bringing people together. Is that my time? Okay. I have a passion for bringing people together, getting folks working together. I don't believe we're ever all going to agree on the same things, but if we can take the few things that we do agree with individually, we can accomplish great things working together. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the rest of the evening.
Joseph.
Thank you for the invitation. My name is Joseph Shea. I represent the Libertarian Party of Canada. I'm a retiree from the Canadian Armed Forces, spent 23 years and I retired as a biomedical engineering tech. After retirement in 2006, my family and I, we moved to Cole Harbour, and I've spent pretty well off and on because of the military aspect about half my life here. Volunteering, I've have minor league baseball in Cole Harbour for a few years. Friends of McNabb's Island Society, I did that for a few years pre-COVID. And also I can't remember the last place I did. Oh yes, Chess, Nova Scotia. I did that too, hosting some tournaments and things. Anyway, that's it. The Libertarian Party stands for freedom, anti-war, and free trade. Okay, thank you.
Ron.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you to everyone here, and thank you to those at home who are joining us as well. My name's Rana Zaman. I am the Green Party candidate, and I am the underdog. I am the one that no one expected would be still standing here from what happened years and years ago, but here I am because I believe in truth, I believe in justice, I believe in fighting for this country. And we have a system that is deteriorating. There's a lack of affordability, a standard of living that no longer exists. There are human rights violations that we are not upholding. As Canadians, according to our laws, the concern for this country are twofold: what is happening, the genocide in Palestine, and the affordability that each Canadian is suffering right now. In the 15 seconds that I have, we need a voice, we need a political revolution, and the only way it's going to happen if we start voting for that revolution. So be the rebellion and vote green. Thank you.
Thank you for those opening statements. We're now going to move to our prepared questions, and the candidates were given these questions about a week ago, and each candidate has 1.5 minutes to answer the question, and we'll end this part of the section no later than 8:30, so we'll allow 20 minutes or so for the audience-sourced questions. So the first question: what do you and your party identify as the top 2 priorities for addressing poverty, and how do you plan to address them on the short and medium terms? And we'll begin with Michelle.
Thank you. Well, one of the things our party wouldn't be doing is printing more money to increase the inflationary cost for all people. Eliminating poverty doesn't come from endless government handouts either, or bloated bureaucracy. It comes from creating real opportunities for Canadians to succeed. As a People's Party of Canada candidate, I believe in policies that empower individuals, not trap them in a cycle of dependence. That means lower taxes so families keep more of what they earn, fewer regulations so small businesses like mine can thrive, and end inflationary government spending that erodes the value of our hard-earned money. We should focus on making life more affordable by reducing the cost of living, obviously, not inflating it with carbon taxes, and not having housing restrictions and excessive government interference. The best anti-poverty program is a strong economy, personal freedom, and a government that gets out of the way and lets people flourish. Thank you.
Keith.
Our big 2, affordable housing and income security. In the short term, we have proposed raising the guaranteed income supplement for seniors and having rental assistance there for folks who need it. Also as well, changing the eligibility requirements for EI. In the long term, it is building 500,000 new homes with non-market housing on them and through our provincial and municipal partners to get these homes built as quickly and efficiently as possible. Also, long term, to continue to fight both in in Parliament and with our provincial and municipal partners to get the housing process sped up and more houses built, and also universal pharmacare and dental care to be put through as soon as possible so people can take advantage of these very, very important programs.
Thank you. Joseph.
Yeah, the number one for poverty, the number one thing that we see is we're just overtaxed. Government spending is out of control. We spent, right now the federal debt is $1.5 trillion, which equates to about $36,000 per Canadian. So that's what a baby expects to inherit when they're born. Interest rate on their debt is $75 million a day. You know, we have to stop this spending. Another aspect is immigration. It has some input by increasing unemployment in certain areas. So we just want to pause immigration until we get everything under control. One thing that hasn't been really discussed is the impact of artificial intelligence that's going to have on that. That's going to put, I believe, a lot of people out of work in various sectors. So we have to start thinking about how we're going to handle that situation. I don't have a solution. I don't think anybody's got a solution on that until this problem hits us. Thank you.
Rana.
So the way the Greens are going to address some of this is through a guaranteed livable income, raise the federal income tax floor to $45,000, and establish a 21-hour federal minimum wage indexed to inflation. There are other things that we want to put forward is free pharmacare, free education for universities and community colleges. That allows Canadians to save more money and put towards their living expenses. At the end of the day, we all have this wonderful wish list that all these parties have been putting forward for decades and decades and decades. But where are we today? We are in the worst ever crisis of affordability and housing. So the point is, we need voices there that are actually going to make these changes and not make these lovely promises. And in order to have that, you have to have voices that are not going to be backed down, and voices that will stand up for the promises they made to you as the constituents, and honor themselves as well by holding up those values. And that's what we need. You can go and check all the platforms. They're all wonderful, they're all great, but to this day, how much have really upheld what they have promised? Thank you.
Darren.
As my fellow candidates have said, there can never be just two priorities. There are so many factors that can lead to poverty. Poverty is, however, not inevitable. It's a problem that we have the power to solve. You've probably heard me say this numerous times. All orders of government must work together to put people first, especially those most vulnerable. When we first formed government, we made a choice. We launched the tax-free Canada Child Benefit, which lifted hundreds of thousands of kids. I see young mums nodding. Hundreds of thousands of kids out of poverty. Now we need to do the same with the Canada Disability Benefit. I'm glad to have that across the finish line, but I will have to fight and keep pushing for stronger funding to lift even more people up. We're started the National School Food Program. Every child deserves a full belly and a fair start. We're building deeply affordable homes. We're expanding the $10 a day childcare, and we're strengthening dental care, because dignity shouldn't depend on your bank balance. We're negotiating with Nova Scotia right now to deliver national farm care, and we'll boost GIS for seniors who have given so much. Fighting poverty is about lifting people up, not slogans, but with real meaningful action. And that is the future that we are committed to. Thank you.
Question number 2. Deeply affordable housing, that is rent geared to income, is both a supply and a demand problem, especially for families. How does your party plan to deal with the ongoing lack of deeply affordable housing that includes units suitable for families and the immediate issue of homelessness? And we'll begin with Keith.
This is, for me, priority number one. Affordability, the housing crisis, homelessness, and we have to attack it two different ways. First off, in the short term, is we have to work with our fellow partners in government, as well as local community groups and cooperatives, to boost shelter capacities and what we can do for folks in shelters. At the same time, taking care of addiction issues and mental health, providing mental health supports. Pertaining specifically to housing, my favorite thing on our platform that came out was releasing government land, surplus government land that's not being used, to get 500,000 new homes built, with a significant number of them being non-market, with rent geared to their income, and the vast majority of these being family-sized units. This cannot be done alone by any one level of government. It cannot be done by any one individual group. This has to be all oars rowing in the same direction at once. I truly believe that this is something we can fix if we work together. And there is certainly a demand in every community across this country to have this issue resolved as soon as possible.
Joseph.
Thank you. Long-term solution would be decreased taxation. That puts more money back in everybody's pocket where it belongs. Curtail government spending. I know already touched on this. Right now, what we could do right now in the short term is decrease immigration. We got to pause that until we sustain a reasonable balance between housing and everything. Now, are there external forces at play too? Is foreign investment driving up the prices? Places like in Vancouver, where there's foreign investment in the buildings and it just drives the market rate up. Is there something we can do on that? Maybe we could just stop foreign investment. And that's about it. Thank you.
Brenna.
Thank you. So we definitely have a plan. We can start by triple the amount of social housing in Canada by building 1.2 million permanently affordable homes, non-market rental or cooperatives over 7 years. We can redesign and expand the public land acquisition fund, creating a dedicated multi-year fund to bring more private land into public ownership for the construction of non-market affordable housing. We can place a moratorium on selling off publicly owned land that could be used to meet important social needs, like affordable housing. Crack down on corporate housing speculation, introduce stricter regulations on hedge funds and private equity firms and corporate landlords that drive up housing prices and push Canadians out of the market. We can also manage properly. We have an aging population. We're bringing in
Keep going.
Thank you. We can we have been bringing immigrants to help boost our economy, but we did not prepare for that boost. And as a result, we have faced a crisis and shortage in housing. And so our preparation is not doing very well. Again, as I said, all these things have accumulated over decades and decades of mismanagement, and we need to really have voices that will speak out and hold accountable all the policies that were supposed to be implemented years ago. Thank you.
Just remind people to turn off their cell phones or turn the sound down, please. Darren?
Thank you very much. Housing is a basic human right. And for too long, federal governments sat on the sidelines. That's not just conservative governments, it's liberal governments as well. Past federal governments have dropped the ball on housing. But that changed with our Liberal government, and as your MP, I've been focused on delivering real, affordable homes right here in Dartmouth, Cole Harbour. And I do want to acknowledge that MLA Sue LeBlanc is here, and she has been an advocate for truly affordable housing for many, many years. We've helped deliver rent geared to income homes like the multiple phases of True North Crescent in Sue's riding. We also supported Main Street Centre for seniors and people with disabilities. We've partnered with the YWCA in buying family homes at the Mount Hope Village. If you don't know about Mount Hope Village or True North, you need to take a Sunday drive sometime and take a look at these truly affordable homes. It's absolutely changing people's lives, and there are families living there right now. You'll see children playing in the yards. It really is life-changing. Sometimes things start to happen before we notice that they're actually there. There is some truly and deep affordable housing options happening in Dartmouth. Moving forward under Prime Minister Mark Carney, we're going to build 500,000 homes through the Build Canada Homes Initiative. We're going to continue to unlock public land, slash red tape, and continue to work with municipalities to cut red tape.
Michelle.
Sorry, Darren, I don't know how you can say that you're doing better when we have tent cities out there. We are a first world nation. We shouldn't have people living in tents in our cities. So affordability is a problem, and we've seen it in the last 5 years. We've seen the printing of money that has brought up the cost of living. And, we have to start looking at what are we going to do with the construction industry as well. I had the construction industry reach out to me, and they asked me, what are we going to do for them? Well, one of the things we can do for them is take down those interprovincial trade barriers so trade workers can work across Canada and start building those homes and not have to recertify every time they want to go to a new province. The other thing is remove the red tape and the bureaucracy so we can actually get those homes built affordably and timely. And we need those people to actually be able to become more dependent or independent for themselves. And these are the people that are living in tents. I've met them. There are people that are working, they're working 2 jobs, and they're still living in tent cities. So it's a real problem. And I think this is a problem that has arisen because of mismanagement from the Liberal government. Thank you.
Question number 3. The trade war with the Trump administration is a matter of deep concern. What is your party's plan to protect our economy? We'll start with Joseph.
Thank you. Yeah, the Libertarian Party believes in free trade. We're an open market type of thing. We believe tariffs are taxation. Eliminating protectionist policies like tariffs and quotas will offer Canadians more affordable and diverse goods and services. Also, with the, it'll also revitalize our diplomatic ties, and that'll foster peace. One thing that somewhat related to that, we also have trade barriers between provinces. That has to quit too. Other than that, and deregulation, we have to get rid of all of the regulations and in order to make it more freer for these goods and services to cross over. Thank you.
Rana.
I have a whole list here, but I'm just going to name a couple. We're going to establish a national strategic reserves of Canadian resources to protect against U.S. trade disruptions, stabilize domestic markets, and strengthen Canadian sovereignty. Ban the export of unprocessed resources. Ensure Canadian oil, minerals, timber, and seafood are refined, processed, and value added before export, creating Canadian jobs and reducing U.S. leverage over our economy. And then apply export taxes on key Canadian resources that the U.S. relies on, such as oil, gas, uranium, aluminum, potash, and natural gas. While door knocking or talking to people, some people are under the impression that currently our economy is absolutely great, and according to the GDP, and they bring out the numbers. At the end of the day, those numbers, are they affecting each and every Canadian in the most positive way? No, they are affecting the few, and the many are suffering. That is why we are in this crisis of affordability. So we need policies and changes that affect each and every Canadian citizen to uplift us out of the state. We are two paychecks away, the majority of us, from homelessness. I have worked at the grassroots levels with shelters, with the tent cities. I have cooked and dropped off food, and I can tell you, they need changes right now and not some future promises. Thank you.
Darren.
The number one thing I hear at the door, I've knocked on almost 20,000 doors, is the fear of President Trump and who is best equipped to handle that president. It's no secret that he's trying to break us. He says we have nothing that he needs. We have steel, we have aluminum, we have water, we have wood, we have fossil fuels. He wants to take us, and he wants to break us, and we're not about to let that happen. While we stand up for Canada through reciprocal tariffs and strategic responses, we also see this as a moment to strengthen our country and to lead. Now, Michelle and Joseph both talked about the trade barriers between provinces. We will create one Canadian economy, not the 13 that are there now. They're both right. There are provincial barriers between provinces. We are going to unleash free trade within Canada. We're going to make it easier for workers, goods, and services to move from coast to coast to coast. We're going to invest in Canada. We're going to invest in nation-building infrastructure, high-speed rail, expanded ports, new trade corridors, so Canada's economy is never held hostage by a foreign government again. We're going to bet on Canadian workers. We're going to bet on Canadian companies and Canadian innovation. We will turn this moment of challenge into a moment of strength, and we'll make sure that Canada leads, not follows.
Michelle.
Yeah, Darren's right. They at the doors, people are talking about Trump and how much they hate Trump. And then they turn around and say, but Trump says that Mark Carney is the best one to negotiate with. Well, a lot of them say that Trump is a liar, and then they turn around and they believe this. So, this election was actually going to be on how badly the Liberals were doing for the last 10 years in our nation. And then all of a sudden, a miracle happened, and Trump started to put these tariffs on us. And well, I'm a small business owner, and Mark Carney's retaliatory tariffs have hit my business. I'm the vice president of the Cole Harbour and Area Business Association, and we're very concerned about the livelihoods of our businesses, because many of the products that we can't manufacture here are coming from the United States. We need a fair trade agreement with Trump. We need something that is going to unlock that. We also need a stronger economy. We have been left vulnerable for the last 10 years. So, you have to think about who are you going to vote for, who is going to help you strengthen that economy. And is it the Liberals? Because they let you down for the last 10 years. And yes, interprovincial trade barriers will strengthen. That's a $32 billion unlock for our nation. In 2019, I mentioned that and I got a chuckle from people. Well, you know what? We needed to do that in the past. Thank you very much.
Keith.
This trade war did come out of nowhere, and it's hard to come up with a counter plan when the person with the initial plan doesn't know what he's doing and is changing his mind every day. So what we do now is dollar for dollar reciprocal tariffs. We invest deeply in Canada right now, in Canadian development, business development, and industry. We get as many things as we can made here as possible. And we build trade partners, new trade partners. This is not just the U.S. against us. This is the U.S. against everyone with their trade, including, yes, 2 islands that are made up entirely of penguins and not a human being to be found. So I don't know if they're exporting eggs or what, but for me and for our party, it's about building a new economy. We're not talking John A. Macdonald's national policy here, but we're not too far off about shoring things up at home and getting this country looking after itself and not relying on neighbors. This is a wake-up call. It's time for us to wake up and do what we take care of our own.
Question number 4. How will you and your party take action against intolerance, racism, misogyny, and expressions of hate?
We will start by appointing a special rapporteur on online hate and extremism to monitor, research, and recommend policies to counter digital radicalization and misinformation. We will also ensure full implementation of National Action Plan to eliminate gender-based violence with dedicated funding for services supporting women, girls, and gender-diverse people, including Indigenous and racialized communities. Increase federal funding for research on how online hate and misinformation fuel real-world violence, ensuring transparency in findings and policy recommendations. Please look at me. I am a woman of color. I am a Muslim. I am a pro-Palestinian activist. If anyone needs support right now, are people like myself from the people of color, minorities, and activists who stand up for human rights, because there is so much anti-Palestinian racism out there, the rise of Islamophobia. We are labeled as terrorists because there are propaganda. It is due to a lot of misinformation. When we get to know each other, we spend time together, then we see the reality of who we really are, and we are all the same at the core. So it is important for us to not fall for this misinformation and get to know thy neighbor. Thank you.
Darren.
There's no room for hate in Canada. Not in our streets, not in our politics, and not in our communities. We've seen a troubling rise in anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, racism, misogyny, white nationalism, homophobia, transphobia. We need to call it what it is. It's hate, and we need to confront it head on. Moving forward, a Liberal government will make it a criminal offense to willfully block access to places of worship, schools, or community centers, and an offense to intimidate people for practicing their faith or living authentically. We'll fully implement Canada's action plan on combating hate and significantly boost the Canada Community Security Program to help protect vulnerable communities, including Jewish and Muslim Canadians. We'll keep supporting 2S LGBTQI+ Canadians through funding and protection, including at Pride events across the country. Folks, it's important to remember that hate isn't a protest. It's an attack on everything that Canada stands for. And here in Dartmouth, Cole Harbour, and across Canada, we'll stand together and say clearly that hate has no home here.
Michelle.
I'd like to talk about the definition of hate speech, because a lot of people are trying to figure out what is the definition and who determines that. As the People's Party of Canada, I stand firmly for the fundamental right to freedom of expression. The right to speak freely, even when that speech is unpopular or controversial, is a cornerstone of a free and democratic society. We already have laws against violence, harassment, and threats, but so-called hate speech laws are often vague and subjective, and they risk being weaponized to silence political and cultural dissent. Canadians should not live in fear of being punished for expressing their views. Of course, I do not condone racism, bigotry, or discrimination, but censorship is not the answer, and encapsulating hate in a codified manner is not easy. The best way to counter bad ideas is with better ones, not by banning speech. In a free society, open dialogue and respectful debate are how we build understanding and unity in Canada. Thank you.
Keith?
Hate is not a natural state. It is learned, and anything that is learned can be unlearned. We have a natural anti-hate strategy, which includes in-person and online examples. Education, an education program to start young and let folks know that there's no home here for racism. We have to be frequently reviewing the legislation and the enforcement practices. Our party stands for equality, and we stand for frequent reassessments of what we stand behind. My community, I love my community, and my community includes everyone, and my party feels much the same. Thank you.
Joseph?
Thank you. What drew me to the Libertarian Party is it's the true freedom party. Libertarianism, it stands for freedom and liberty. The whole basis behind the libertarianism is it's a non-aggression principle where every person has the right to live the life they choose as long as it doesn't violate the rights of others by initiating fraud or force against them. That's our party line. We do not tolerate anything. Everyone is treated equal, and there's the Libertarian Party in the court system. We hope that that's the way that things fall. Okay, thank you.
Question number 5. Recognizing that the principal relationship between the Crown and Indigenous peoples resides with the federal government, what does your party identify as 2 top priorities that your party can take to achieve reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in Canada? And how does your party plan to address them? Darren?
I don't think you can take a check. You can't just check a box off and say, okay, we've done reconciliation. It's a journey that's up to everybody. It's up to all Canadians. It's up to all orders of government to walk that path of reconciliation. We believe in continuing to work towards the advancement of Indigenous self-determination, and we will ensure that Indigenous communities are true partners in economic growth. We'll invest in Indigenous-owned infrastructure, housing, energy, ports, highways, through programs like the expanded $10 billion Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program. This isn't just economic development, it's economic sovereignty, ensuring Indigenous communities share in the wealth of this country. Second, we'll continue to uphold Indigenous rights and culture by expanding programs like the Indigenous Guardians for Land Stewardship, supporting Indigenous languages, ensuring Indigenous consultation and leadership are fundamentally built into every major project, and we will uphold UNDRIP.
Michelle?
I believe that all peoples have the ability for self-determination and for being independent from the government. And you can see lately you've got Indigenous communities that are actually developing pipelines. And this is amazing how empowered they are to actually be able to develop their own economies. And I think we should be supporting that and empowering them and not trying to give handouts so that they can be dependent on the government. Self-determination and independence is important for all to be free. Thank you.
Again, please turn your cell phones down and off.
Deja vu all over again.
I'm sorry. Keith?
Yes, thank you very much. First off, legislating water is a basic human right. Clean drinking water is key.
Just a second, Keith.
Sure, am I? Oh, I
Okay.
just wasn't close enough.
Thank you.
All right, cool. Yeah, legislating water, clean drinking water as a basic human right is very, very important. And implementing the calls to action from the Truth and Reconciliation Commission are the two main steps, the two main priorities here. But I think throughout, communication between the governments and the various communities is absolutely paramount. No two communities are the same. No two communities need the same things. And so in order to help empower and get folks where they want to be and where they need to be, it's important that there is a great deal of communication working together between communities and between the communities and the government itself. Thank you.
Joseph?
Thank you. The Indigenous peoples have a right to jurisdiction over their territories as an independent level of government, and this includes natural resources, local economic affairs, education, agriculture. These rights have a legal basis in the Constitution and the treaties, which has been verified by the Supreme Court. What we plan to do is, if the Libertarians ever become government, is return of all unused Crown lands back to the Indigenous people, and also revisit the treaties to better define and with respect for sovereignty, because things have changed. We're now in the modern day, and these treaties and everything were signed centuries ago. So thank you.
Rana?
Thank you. We plan on fully implement all 94 calls to action from Canada's Truth and Reconciliation Commission to repair harm, support healing, and build a fair relationship with Indigenous peoples, and formally recognize Indigenous sovereignty over self-defined and self-governed lands, ensuring full jurisdiction and self-determination is just a few. I have been on the ground level attending rallies that Indigenous communities put forward, the Cornwall statue, the issues that come here, and I'm sad to say how many of the political leadership actually shows up at any of these Indigenous rallies to support their voices or amplify them. Indigenous people are protesting at pipelines. They're being brutalized, arrested, and stopped from their own sovereign lands. This is the trend that has been taking place from these governments for decades. So to stand here to say the things that are being said but not forming them in action is a hypocrisy that our governments have been holding and maintaining the status quo. And it is very disheartening for me to see, because I'm on the ground, I'm working with Indigenous people, that they are not given the respect that they're given, even to the basic of the missing and murdered women and children. We need to do better. Thank you.
Climate change is impacting our infrastructure, industries, environment, and people. How would your party plan to deal with these impacts, including the reduction of greenhouse gases? Michelle.
It's not that clear if policies to reduce outputs that our Liberal government enforced on us in the last 10 years would actually make an impact on our climate. British Columbia was the first province to invoke the carbon tax, and then Trudeau took on that carbon tax without actually doing any research on if it actually did work in British Columbia, and it actually didn't. And we look at Canadians suffering now from high food costs and fuel costs. And we have to look at, sure, we could go into greener sustainable energy. However, we can't do it when we have no money. We're at $1.4 trillion in debt. And so we need to bring our people out of debt, out of poverty. And how we're going to do that is we have to develop our natural resources. And we have to repeal C-48 and C-69, the anti-pipeline and anti-natural resource development. And we need to start creating an economy that's strong for our Canadians. Then we can start looking at what we can do for green sustainable energy. Canada emits 1.4% of all greenhouse gases or carbon emissions. China, 22, and India, 25. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could actually sell our liquid natural gas to their countries? We could actually reduce global emissions. Thank you.
Keith?
It comes down to taxing our highest polluters and rewarding those that are making the switch over to clean, green energy. To incentivize things like green public transit. Last week we had some postal workers in who have been trying to get the fleet green for the postal office. Of course, the affordable east-west grid with affordable green energy as well. We need to phase out fossil fuels sooner than later. We're actually way behind the ball on that right now. And really, you know, this is an oversimplification, but recycling, reducing, and reusing, even at the macro level of taking land that's already been used and repurposing it rather than going and digging somewhere that's nice and green and untouched. Sorry. All right. I'll just say that was a really, really good answer. And I'll hand off to Joe.
Joseph?
Okay, thank you. We recognize that human activity can harm other humans, and there's claims of harm should be tried in the court of law and not in the court of public opinion. Now, we estimate that 120 companies are responsible for 80% of the carbon dioxide emissions. Now, but carbon taxation, it only redistributes wealth. What we propose to do is commit the reformation of the legal system to provide justice accessible for those harmed by these pollutants and things along those lines. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenna?
Well, if the Green don't have a solution, who does? So we're immediately halt new fossil fuel infrastructure and eliminate fossil fuel subsidies, phase out all fossil fuel production and exports by 2045, modernize Canada's grid, creating interconnected regional electricity grids, ensuring 100% renewable electricity nationwide by 2035 through hydro, wind, solar, and energy storage, establish a National Civil Defense Corps, NCDC, to help strengthen Canada's climate disaster preparedness, and this civilian corps would have a key role in responding to climate-related threats like wildfires and assisting communities with disaster recovery. Our government and the world has known that there is a rising crisis in the climate, and to this day, what have we done to address it? I mean, we in Nova Scotia have suffered fires, flood, deaths that have occurred from it, and it's only going to be getting worse. We have had plenty of time to establish some of these things. Canada has all these resources. The green resources that can be brought forward create thousands and thousands of jobs and move forward to a better climate, to take the lead in the world stage towards a better and healthier planet. Thank you.
Darren?
The cost of inaction. Cost of inaction is huge. The impacts of climate change are no longer warnings. They're happening right now, as Rana said. Floods, fires, food insecurity, economic disruption. And if we don't act boldly, it's only going to get worse. Who remembers just a few years back, we had a parade through Halifax. 10,000 young people took to the streets demanding the government act on the environment. We need that group of young people mobilized. We need those streets filled with young people screaming for action. 2015, 2016, 2017, it was some of the biggest issues in the news, the biggest issues in our office, the biggest demands were for climate action. I can't remember the last time I heard from somebody saying you need to move harder and more forcefully on the environment, and that is an absolute shame. The cost of inaction is huge. We must act. This isn't about surviving the crisis. It's about leading the world in the clean economy of tomorrow. We can't afford to wait. We need that group of 10,000 young people back on the streets demanding action from their governments all over this world for climate change. Thanks.
Just want to mention that we have 10 minutes for the audience source questions. So if you do have a question, please make your way to the back and fill it out. So 10 minutes left.
I'll continue on, and then when it's time for the audience source questions, Stephen will join us. Given a proposed increase in defense spending and recruitment, what do you see as the opportunities and challenges in Dartmouth Cole Harbour? And Keith, to you first.
Well, this is certainly a community that is made up of a lot of folks within the defense industry. Veterans, serving members, family members. First off, we want our party's advocated for meeting the minimum of 2% of our GDP, which is the NATO recommended amount for funding. This is already for the Navy a hub for the defense industry. Now, it might be over the other side, but we do have stuff on this side. Of course, Shearwater is in the riding, and of course, the Heartland Point training facility will soon be in the riding when it is completed. These are all jobs. These are all opportunities. For me, what I really see is a lot of opportunities. There will certainly be some challenges. We have to meet infrastructure goals. We do not want to have a booming defense industry without people to live in, or without houses for people to live in, or roads for people to drive on. But yes, we do have a good opportunity here. One of the major operations for Arctic sovereignty is one that I actually had the opportunity to do a lot of the logistic work for. It's called Op Nanook, and it goes up from this side. It goes up a few times a year. The opportunities will continue with that operation, as well as Op Carib that goes down to the Caribbean and combats trafficking. So I think there's a lot of opportunities and a few challenges.
Joseph.
Now, the Libertarian Party believes that the federal government is responsible for maintaining a military in order to protect its citizenry. That's the thing. Our rule is not to intervene in foreign conflicts. There has to be I propose a shift in thinking too, whether we need a new white paper on defense spending or things or direction, but why not use drone and satellite technology in order to enforce all of the borders? Who knows, maybe it's going on now, I'm not sure. We got to increase the northern presence and protect it from the north. And that's pretty well about it. We are anti-war. We don't like to see any thing. We will always promote peace. Thank you.
Rhona.
Thank you. The challenges are the same here as everywhere. People in the service are suffering the same effects of the affordability crisis as other Canadians, and the CAF does not have enough training and intake capacity to onboard a new recruits efficiently. The opportunities are to provide good-paying jobs to Canadians interested in serving their country, to bolster our defense readiness, and to leverage the strategic significance of our community to drive economic development. I am on Canada's Voice of Women for Peace and board, as well as Nova Scotia's Voice of Women. So I believe in leading everything with peace talks. War is the very last thing that I would ever advocate, and I would never want my children or anyone's children going forward on causes that are not true and just, that cannot be resolved by peace. We have to stop being involved in or pulled into wars that are excuses to steal resources of other countries, or in the name of democracy and liberation, when in fact it is not. There are so many wars and strifes going around the world that are based on corruption and stealing resources and feeding the military complex where the few are gaining from the blood of the many and the innocent. So for me, war will be the last thing and peace will be the first thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Darren?
Defending Canada means investing in Canadians. Right here in Dartmouth Cole Harbour, that means more good jobs, a stronger future, and real opportunities. We're making a generational investment in our Navy with the New River-class destroyers. The contract was just recently signed. We're going to start to see these incredible destroyers start to show up in our harbour. Our Nova Scotian shipbuilders, the best in the world, are ready to deliver, just like they did with the Harry DeWolf Arctic patrol ships. But this investment isn't just about ships, it's about launching a wave of opportunity for local companies, workers, and families all across Dartmouth Cole Harbour, all across HRM. And the Liberal government will rebuild our military, protect our Arctic sovereignty, and we will hit the 2% NATO target with real action, but not slogans. We're going to build Canadian, we're going to buy Canadian, and we're going to make sure that the jobs and economic growth stay right here at home. In Dartmouth Cole Harbour, we won't just be defending Canada, we'll be building Canada.
Michelle?
Three of the responsibilities of a government, a federal government, is well, you have national defense, national security, the economy, and the wellness of people. Peace comes from the strength of our military. And in this last government, and even the NDP supported less spending on defense mechanisms, on our security. Having more defense spending, and actually what that means for Dartmouth Cole Harbour is that, well, first of all, I'm the proud mother of an Irving shipbuilder, and these people are very proud to be working on our protection, for our protection and our safety. And having more people working on defense spending, our sons, our daughters, will provide us with a stronger economy, especially in Dartmouth Cole Harbour. We have the longest coastal coast in all of the nations, and we have to protect that. And up in the north, we're not really doing a very good job. The Liberals were actually going to decommission one of our bases there. And then when the US found out we were going to decommission that, they actually were going to go back up there and say, we'll protect Canada. So yes, we need to increase our spending, the 2% of the GDP, and we need to stay a sovereign and strong state. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question. Gaza, Ukraine, Sudan, and Myanmar, and so many other places are sites of war whose consequences rippled throughout the world. What do you see as Canada's role and responsibility for mitigating suffering? And Rana, question to you first. Yeah.
Okay. We need to end Canadian arms exports to regimes that commit human rights abuses, ensuring Canadian-made weapons are not used in conflicts that violate international laws. We are Okay. I'm very passionate about this, so that's why there's only one point. I've organized rallies for Myanmar, for the Uyghurs. I have been for the Sudan rallies as well, and I have gone to the Ukrainian fundraisers. So this is very, human rights to me is the core of what my existence is. And the human rights at this point, we are not upholding on an international level the very thing that we have signed up for as Canadians, as Canada. And we are failing miserably, and we have to ask ourselves why. Why are our MPs not listening to us when we're having rallies after rallies after rallies? We're sending them letters after letters, calling them up, saying to please stand up for the human rights violation, to stop a genocide that's happening right here, right now, telecast live in Palestine. There's so much human suffering happening, and we can stop with the total arms embargo. We can be the peacemakers that we once used to be. We need to come together with other countries other countries that have started to stand up and uphold the values as Canada and Canadian citizens. Thank you.
Darren.
If Canada doesn't lead, who will? In a world facing war and human suffering, Canada has a responsibility to stand up for human rights, peace, and the dignity of all people. Canada was one of the first countries to provide aid to Gaza and to Ukraine. We must ensure that Canada continues to lead on the world stage. We'll maintain strong humanitarian aid, protect funding for international human rights, and continue to support Ukraine against Russian aggression. Continue to push for a re-established ceasefire in Gaza. We'll work to bring stolen Ukrainian children home, expand help for refugees facing persecution, ensure Canada's voice is clear and principled in the fight against authoritarianism and violence. Our role is not to stand on the sidelines. It's to lead with compassion, defend the rule of law, and use our voice, our diplomacy, and our resources to build a more peaceful, just world. Because when we lead, we can make a difference. I just want to take a quick second to acknowledge the work that Rana does. She, in the, 8, 9, or 10 years that I've known her, she has been an active voice in this community, and I want to salute her for that work. Thank you.
Michelle.
Yes, thank you, Rana, for all your work that you do. The People's Party believes that we should be staying out of foreign wars. And if we want to take action, then we must boycott certain activities. We saw in the Olympics when the Uyghurs were being killed and kept in concentration camps, basically, in China. We actually sent athletes there, and we should not have. We should have boycotted that Olympic Games. So we need to take better stands, but we also need to stay out of foreign wars. We have our own people that we have to look after here before we can actually start sending troops and equipment to say Ukraine, because now we're in a vulnerable position without any defense equipment. And so we have to consider, how do we stay strong in the face of foreign wars? Thank you.
Thank you. Keith.
We are a people that value peace, diplomacy, humanitarianism, and support as a people. As a nation, we must also follow those same values. We must double down in our championing of international law and ensuring that civilians get the support they need in times of international strife. We have a military that does a great deal on the humanitarian side, and that's where a lot of our focus must continue. We have to prioritize our defense over militarization, and we have to get out of the arms trade with folks overseas. We must always be promoting peace and together, and always ensuring that the actions, the government must ensure that their actions reflect the values of our people, which are those of peace and diplomacy and humanitarianism.
Joseph.
No, I personally don't like suffering, not at all. But when it comes to places very far away that many of us probably cannot find on a map, I think our focus has to be on our own country first. We have our own homeless, we have our own things to have to clean up before we can really start making an impact there. Now, overseas, zero foreign intervention, because we are anti-war, and zero foreign aid. It's gotten a little too ridiculous, I think, with the amount of foreign aid that we send out for silly things, I believe. We have problems here at home. We have to solve them here first. Now, individuals or groups or organizations, they can go and support, other people's, but it's not the responsibility, I believe, of the federal government. Our thing is the courts, police to protect the citizenry, and also the military to protect their border. So all of anything outside of that should be, we will promote peace. We will strive for diplomacy and try to come to help them out. But really, it's hard when we're so far away from everything. We have our own problems. Thank you.
Thank you. We are facing increasing levels of disinformation and a loss of local quality reporting. What would you and your party do to fight disinformation and ensure the provision of quality information on local, national, and international issues? And first to you, Darren.
I'll tell you what we wouldn't do. We wouldn't defund the CBC.
Hold our applause, please. Hold our applause to the end, thank you.
It's never been more important to support local journalism. Disinformation is calculated, it's well-funded, and it's attacking our democracy. Raise your hand if you saw a social media post in the last 24 hours that you questioned whether it was real or whether it was true. Can you trust anything that you see in social media now? Can you trust anything you see on what might look like a media network? We are in a position right now where we can no longer just use critical thinking. 5, 6, 7 years ago, we just said, okay, just let's think critically and we'll be okay. We can't do that anymore. And it's not one group doing it, it's all kinds of groups doing it. If you don't know who to trust, how do you get your information? How do you get your real information? You get it through true public broadcasting. We must continue to invest in true public broadcasting, not just in Canada, in all countries. Disinformation is rampant. Malinformation, this could be one of the challenges of our time. How do we get news? How do we get information to people in our communities that they can trust and know that it's real and valid? That is it.
Michelle.
We must return to objectivity and independence. News outlets should not be subsidized by the government, and because it's a conflict of interest. There does need to be more outlets, local, regional, and national. They need to be independent. People need to be open to other views and different reporting to get different perspectives as well, not just their favorite channel or station. And as a marketer, we do have stations that actually can subsidize themselves through marketing promotions and advertisements. And the responsibility or the role of a free press is to hold the government accountable to the people. So if you have a press or a channel or a social media, well, it's a channel, I guess, on YouTube or the CBC or CTV, if they're subsidized by the government, why would they want to shoot themselves in the foot or bite the hand that feeds them? So we need independence and we need objectivity. And we have seen a lack of that during COVID when you couldn't talk about alternative treatments or that you were shut down. So, as with many things, the government is not the solution to the problem in terms of the CBC. There are no easy solutions, but certainly direct government involvement isn't the solution.
Thank you. Keith.
I also like the CBC, so I'll take half of the applause you gave Darren before. Oh, thanks. Darren, you can have half of that one. No, listen, I'm going to go backwards. Local media is, to me, one of the beautiful lost arts of this society we have now. I love local media. The Beacon out in the Passage. Is it Dartmouth North Echo, Sue? All right, the Echo. There's a new one. Pardon me? It is the. All right. I love the Echo. There's a new one in Woodside now. My campaign manager Cam and I were there for the relaunch or the launch of it. It was really impressive. I mean, I think we've got to support more of that and let those things grow and get as big as they can. Local media is so important. What I would really like to see, now I grew up in the 80s. In the 80s, you would see these things at the supermarket, Loch Ness Monster found working at a casino in Las Vegas. The tabloid stuff. We knew that they were wrong. We knew that that was phony. The problem is what's phony now and what's not. We can't tell the difference. I'd love to see, before kids get out of high school, a media literacy course that'll give them some idea of what's going on. Our democracy depends on a well-informed public, and we're not always well-informed, and sometimes it's harder to find the thing than it is to read it and hear it. So thank you. I could go on for a while on this.
Joseph.
There's always been disinformation. It's just that before, it used to be monopolized by the government or by the newspapers the only way. Social media has opened the door for getting information out. It's up to us as intelligent people to discern what is right, what is wrong, what is false, what is true. Now, if it's damaging to an individual by initiating some type of force or fraud, take them to the courts. If they have to do so, if somebody says something that causes harm to somebody. But censorship, as a Freedom Party, we can't have people tell us what we can and cannot think, say, or choose. We just can't do that. Zero censorship. And I'm probably the odd one on the table, but it's freedom. That's what we need. Thank you.
Rana.
So we also have here that we should increase the CBC funding, but we also need to reform their governance structure to ensure appointments to its board are transparent, merit-based, and free from political interference. It is important to increase sustained, reliable long-term funding for the local journalism initiative, with a continued focus on Canadian media organizations offering local civic journalism and undeserved communities. CBC is part of the mainstream media that has been using language very well cultivated that does not bring forward what is happening on the ground in Palestine. All mainstream media have been forwarding the propaganda and keeping citizens blind to the information that's happened. If it wasn't for social media, to this day, the entire world would still be misled of who are the victims and who has a right to defend themselves. So yes, I agree. There are now issues that are happening in social media. We have to be very careful and as Joseph said, use our intelligence and be aware. But the mainstream media right now cannot be trusted, and we need to put in governance that will allow fair covering of the stories that are happening on the ground. And for me, mainstream media cannot be trusted because they did not attend our rallies, or the ones they did and covered, they made sure the message we were putting did not get out there. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We now move to the publicly sourced questions, and I have quite a few, and we'll see how many we can get through. And in no particular order, some of them will be based on theme, and we will add 30 seconds, so you'll have 2 minutes to respond to each question. The candidate's job is to represent the public. What is the method you will use to obtain bottom-up grassroots input into political decisions? And we will start with Michelle. Do you need to hear the question again?
How we will determine policy?
Yeah, what method will you use to obtain bottom-up grassroots input into political decisions?
Yeah, definitely talking to the people. I mean, the MP, it represents the riding, and you are the riding. And so we must empower you, the people, not be in power, but empower you, the people. So yes, speaking to the constituents, having town halls, that's very important. And, and asking for input. We can have emails, websites where people can actually put their input for us in order, and for certain policies as well, or what are the policies that are important to you? What are the issues? That's what we're all doing when we go door to door. We're actually asking you what's important to you. And we found, maybe 3 top priorities to the people, and how are we going to deal with that? So it's all about listening to you and thinking about how are we going to serve you in the House of Commons and be your voice, not my voice, your voice. Thank you.
Keith.
A longtime office holder told me that the job is taking what the people want to Ottawa, not taking what Ottawa wants to the people. So the only ways you can do that, and there are some excellent examples in this region of people who are very excellent at representing their constituents. I won't mention any names. But one of them is, I'm a big fan of just being out. Like this election for me, going to events with my family. The only difference is I'm wearing a button. This is what we do. I like to get out and talk to people. It is the best way to represent folks. One thing I think about is accessibility of an office, like satellite offices. Some of the folks in the rural places have different, they'll rent out an office one day of a month. Even being out canvassing, there's nothing better than a politician that knocks on your door when it's not election time, just to see what you want. For me, this is the part of the job that, if elected, I think I will enjoy the most. Getting out, talking to people about what they want and fight, and then going and fighting for it. A lot of the time, the squeaky wheel will get the grease because folks in office don't go asking those who might be silent, but their wishes, their dreams, and their hopes are just as valid as anyone else's. For me, this is one area where you can expect to see me to the point that you just don't want to see me anymore because it's been 4 times in 1 week, and there's Keith again. But there's some great examples locally over the years of folks who really knew how to represent a constituency. Those are my favorites. And it knows no party. All parties have had good ones and all parties have had bad ones. But that's what works for me.
Joseph.
I've actually thought about this a little bit weeks ago. I thought, why not create some type of, we know who the electors are in our region, in our riding. Why don't we set up a polling system? So you log on and everyone gets the right thing. And then when major issues come up, like when was the last time we had a national referendum on any topic? I mean, we've had big bills come through recently, and maybe some of them died with a proroguing, but like for censorship bills and things. When you know that the person in your riding, the member of parliament, is going to go with party lines, but you don't like that, you should be able to have some way to express that and visibly show it up. This poll should come up 51% yes, 49% no. There's got to be some way where we can engage everybody more with our member. Thank you.
Rena.
So being on the grassroots level, I'm already in touch with our community, and I don't believe in boundaries. I believe in connecting with everyone because, number one, we are all Canadians. The politicians at every government level, whether it be municipal, provincial, or federal, are representing us all. So we need to work together to do the best that we can for our communities as a united group of elected officials. For me, I have already made myself accessible. My phone number is out there. Anyone who needs me can reach out to me. I have complete strangers reaching out to me. As I said in my other forums, I have people reaching out for baby formulas until their next check comes in. Social Security, Department of Community Service, only baby formula. I reach out people who need groceries. I've had people reach out. They lost their job. They found their job, but they got behind on their rent. And please, if I could just help them rent so they're not homeless until their paycheck comes in. These are small things, and this is just a few examples, and I've had hundreds and hundreds, I think into the thousands over the years that I've been doing. So making yourself accessible is something I've already been doing, and if I have the capacity that the resources come from being an elected official, I would be available even more, because then I would also have staff that could be accessible. You could call me. We love to get together, our communities. So I would love to have get-togethers. I would love to have teas. We believe in bonding over food. So the resources that would provide it, I would put back into the community. I actually want to, if elected, put a percentage of the income that I would be earning as MP towards creating a community fund that we can all contribute to, those in places of position to contribute, and distribute to those in need. That is my concept of community, by being involved.
Thank you. Darren.
You know, this is a very, very interesting question. I've been in the House of Commons for about 9 years, and I've seen how different MPs do the job differently. There's no real handbook that tells you how you effectively be the voice of the people in your community in Ottawa, rather than being the voice of Ottawa in your communities. There's no yes or no, there's no black or white. It's really interesting these days because there's a wide swath of perspective. Not everybody has, some people might say, well, this is what I believe. Someone else will say, this is what I believe. But there's many different perspectives within that same exact issue, that same exact thing. But there is a time when you know what is reverberating in your community, when something means so much to somebody. Take the infilling of Dartmouth Cove, for example. The community is so firmly against that it's easy to see that that's where the pulse of your community is, and that you would do anything for the people in your community. I like to think of myself as a bit of a curb and gutter guy. I mean, I've got people sending me Facebook Messenger. I've got people sending me Instagram messages. I've got people that reach out through the office, people that pull me aside at the Dartmouth Market or wherever I happen to be. However it works for somebody, that's great. Forming relationships with people in Ottawa on both sides of the aisle is super important. It's more difficult now because there was actually a directive from the Conservatives not to, socialize with Liberals, which is a real shame because we were able to really accomplish some great things. I see I'm going to run out of time. This is a very, very important question. I want to thank the person that brought this question forward.
Thank you. Both the Elver and lobster fishery is a current challenge for reconciliation. How do you propose dealing with the potential conflict that is developing now? We'll begin with Keith.
I grew up in a fishing community, and oddly enough, I was taking a course in treaty rights when the Donald Marshall Jr. Decision came down. What was that, 99 or 2000? This is definitely a very tricky situation. I mean, what needs to be done here is truly getting all parties together for communication. This is not something, this people's livelihoods are in the balance here. For me, this is based in treaty rights versus, common practice, I suppose. And it's something that is frequently coming up in fishing communities. We do need to get everyone together, get some legislation together, get some agreements on the table, and every individual situation in every geographical area is going to be different. But we just have to be open to communication, two-way communication, possibly three-way communication.
Thank you. Joseph?
This might be very short. No, I don't mean to defer my answer, but our party doesn't have a policy dealing with fishing or anything like that. I believe that it's more of a provincial thing. It's the natural resources of the province, and they have to work out how things work out that way. So it may not be the answer somebody's looking for, but that's the libertarian stance. Thanks.
Rena?
Well, being a peace activist, I always believe in getting people together to have this conversation, but I have to also point out the reality that the DFO must stop kicking the moderate livelihood policy that's down the road and enable the First Nations to exercise their treaty fishing rights. Also, I think it's been like almost 20 years, and to define the moderate livelihood means for Indigenous fishers, I don't understand what the hesitation or what it's taking so long. So at the end of the day, I think it's really important to have these conversations and focus and make it happen. There should be no longer any delays. I'm not up on all the issues and everything, but to have the parties concerned and to respect Indigenous sovereignty, that also, I believe, goes back to the Truth and Reconciliation. We have to start honoring them. Thank you.
Darren?
It's such a serious issue, and Keith kind of nailed it when he said it's all about communication. I'm not aware of a single instance where there was proper communication between DFO, between Indigenous fishers, between commercial fishers. Keith said it, get everybody at the table. It doesn't happen. It has to happen. Why are all of these groups not around the table on a regular basis? There was a time, 2015, 2016, I think, that they were having actual in-person meetings. But it needs to happen on a regular basis. There needs to be respect between all the groups involved in all the fishery. It makes no sense to me. DFO has failed. DFO has failed to communicate. They've failed to insist that every party is around that table and that a deal can be worked out, respecting treaty rights, respecting fishing rights, respecting Canadians. It seems so simple sitting here in this church talking about something that is so complicated and has become so divisive, when all you really need to do, and I'm not saying that this solves the problem, but a start would be to sit down together and have a conversation. To me, it just seems completely illogical. I have said this, by the way, to anyone who will listen in Ottawa at DFO many, many times.
And Michelle?
I think they've said it. It's about communication, but it's also about clear and concise policy and an act. And we have an ambiguous fishing act that does say a moderate living. Well, what does that mean for people? When I spoke to one chief, he told me, well, you know, this is what we think a moderate livelihood is. And then you speak to someone else and they say, this is what a moderate livelihood is. So yes, there has to be clear and concise wording and understanding between all parties. Thank you.
What are your party's plans to support issues of climate infrastructure such as the Isthmus of Chignecto? And we'll start with Joseph, sorry.
Unfortunately, not much time to think on this one. Climate issue, really we look at, it's not, well, taxation isn't going to work, I know that. How are we going to solve this? I don't know. I grew up in a scientific type of thing. I went and took biology, chemistry, physics, all those nice little things when I went to university for a few years. And change happens. I mean, two of the slogans here from the parties is change. It's going to change. The earth is changing. I mean, if we take a look at any of the external forces outside our little blue marble, you know, we've been having some flares and they've been causing some disruptions. Some people say it causes earthquakes. How are we going to stop that? Things are going to happen. Things and we just have to protect ourselves and our infrastructure on the changes that do happen. I mean, this is an evolving world. I mean, it's going to happen. I have yet to see where my tax dollars have stopped the hurricane. I haven't seen it yet. All I know is my bank account is low, you know? So anyway, thank you.
Brenna,
Could you just repeat that one more time, please?
if I can find it. What are your party's plans to support issues of climate infrastructure, such as the Isthmus of Chignecto?
Our party platform is 123 pages long, and I haven't been able to memorize all of it, but being the Green Party, we are focused on climate prevention, starting locally. Now, I understand that where Nova Scotia meets the New Brunswick, there's a whole issue which has major danger of flooding and erosion. And this is all part and parcel of the failure for us to take action when we had to take action. Again, I'm going to be very honest. For that one particular issue, I don't have an actual answer that I can read off like I have been. But I can tell you, as a Green Party candidate, and the values of our party is to address immediate climate action, starting locally. As I mentioned before, we've got flooding, we have fires, we have deaths that are happening here, and the the Green Party has actual actions put into forward, and they are the best persons to make this happen. And the solutions, by the way, wasn't created by the Green Party. They have been created scientifically for decades. They are very knowledgeable people, Nobel Prize winning people, who have brought these solutions forward. We just have failed as governments and as countries and as the world to implement them, and it's now time to take them seriously, especially if we're discussing right here, right now, in our own area. So the Green Party will definitely prioritize these issues. Thank you.
Darren.
Traditionally, the federal government would pay 33% of a project. The provincial government would pay 33% for a project, and the municipalities would pay 33% for a project. It was a cost share agreement that meant that a lot of things that were really important didn't happen, because very often municipalities, which really only have property taxes within their coffers, oftentimes these projects just wouldn't go forward. With regards to the isthmus, everybody's favorite word, the isthmus, it was a project that needed to be done. It was absolutely imperative that this job get done. The federal government decided upfront to contribute 50% of the project and asked New Brunswick and Nova Scotia to contribute 25% each. The project's underway. I will say that it was a little bit, it got a little bit nasty between the provincial governments and the federal government on that. Some folks, some premiers felt that it should be 100% the federal government. I don't think we have that many isthmus, in Canada for us to sort of see what the proper funding mechanism was. But the project is going forward. It is being contested, however, I believe, by the Nova Scotia government to determine whether the federal government should cover the entire the entire project. But imagine the trade that crosses between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia every single day, and have Nova Scotia all of a sudden turn into an island. This is not something that should have gone on for very long. It should have been snap your fingers, let's figure out how to get this project started, done, complete. Because the only thing holding us away from being an island was a railroad track.
Michelle.
I remember when one of the People's Party candidates actually living in Amherst, he said this was a huge issue for the region, and we could actually be cut off if that flooded. And so we would have no transport trucks coming in to help supply us. And we were told possibly that we'd only have about 72 hours of food in the superstores, in Sobeys, in stock. So it is a huge issue. and the government should be looking at, well, you said it's underway now, Darren? So it's an important issue, and I think that the federal government should be responsible for that, especially for the well-being of Canadians. You do not want to be cut off and have no food available. And also, when we look at climate change and that, well, were any of the carbon taxes going towards funding of that? I'm not sure. Maybe Darren could tell us. And we have to start looking at how, as Canadians, we could actually be a global leader on reducing emissions. If that's what the people want, then we could actually do that by developing our liquid natural gas. We've had people already asking us. We've had the German Chancellor ask us, and the Liberal government told them that it didn't make for a good business model. It absolutely does. We emit 1.4% of all carbon emissions in the world. If we start helping other countries reduce those carbon emissions, then we could be that global leader that everyone wants us to be. Thank you very much.
Keith.
There's not much left for me to say, really. I mean, our party is certainly committed to preserving and protecting, such places. And this is a symptom of a much greater problem. I think the issue is how long it's taken. Darren touched on it, but people have been talking about this for years. We haven't listened to the experts. I think from now on, when the experts speak up, we listen a little quicker than we have been. And there's not a million, but there are many examples where we've sort of pushed it down the road and had to deal with it later. And unfortunately, that's where we are with this.
I have gone over our time a bit, and so some excellent questions here, and I am sorry that we weren't able to get to all of them, but perhaps during when you finish up, if you want to come up and talk to the candidates, you can ask your question that way. But I want to end with one last question, and this is for your personal opinion on this. So to be the government is to face with many complex problems that require difficult choices. Personally, what are your top 2 priorities? And we'll start with Darren.
My top 2 priorities. So on the local focus, I would say my top priority is ensuring that the Dartmouth Cove infill project does not go forward. That is something that is my hill to die on. I jokingly said to several people at the doors that you may see me sometimes strapped to a rock down in the waterfront, blocking any bulldozers that might be coming my way, or any truckloads of fill. It's something that, and I spoke to this a little bit. Can I ask how much time we have on this? Do we have 10 minutes on this? No, just kidding. This is one of the things that is a bit of a hill to die for me. Probably some of the folks in the room know that I had been threatened with lawsuits, legal action because of my stance on this, and it goes back to a question from earlier. We are the advocates for our community, and you can't tell someone to stop advocating on behalf of somebody when something means that much. I talked a little bit about that parade of young people, 10,000 people going through Halifax screaming and demanding climate action. We have to get back to that again. No longer is this a nice to have, but it's also an economic opportunity. The greatest economic opportunity that we have right now is clean and green energy. It's not 10 years ago you'd put solar panels on your roof because you did it because you felt it was the right thing to do. But now there's a return on investment. Clean, green energy is the economy of the future. And I want to see Dartmouth Cole Harbour be the mecca, the epicenter of clean, green energy in Canada.
Michelle.
But it must be reliable. And reliable energy is directly proportional to the standard of living. So we must ensure that we have that reliable energy, Darren. The two things that are important to me is to build a robust economy. We cannot keep being vulnerable as a nation. We are vulnerable now, and we are leaving money on the table, and we want to be able to have that robust economy so we do not pander to other leaders. And I mean leaders like in the US and other leaders. We also, if with a robust economy, we could actually reduce the income tax burden on our citizens, and you can keep more of your money. And to be prosper and thriving as a citizenship, that's mostly what governments would really want for their people, to be free and independent and to be able to leave a legacy for the next generation. We always want to leave the next generation better than what we had, right? And so robust economy, less tax, and then we need to be able to house our people. You do not want people living in tents in a first world nation. So those are my two important issues.
Keith.
We're over time. I'm going to keep it quick. I want my kids to be able to buy a house before they're 50. And I want my kids to be able to feed their families by working one job and not 3 or 4 or 5. These are things I want for myself right now. And I don't know if I'm not going to get a house before I'm 50, but hopefully we can rectify that and get it for my young ones.
Joseph.
Yeah, the big thing is cutting government waste and government overspending. One thing is when the government, sitting at a $1.5 trillion debt here that we have to try to get down, it's causing inflation. It gives us less money in our own wallets. So we have to start cutting that waste down. It's going to hurt. There's going to be programs that are going to be gone, but initially, a lot of the duplicated government things that agencies and departments that is a duplication at the provincial level. It's just waste. Get rid of it. Go. Other than that, mostly it's just decreasing the amount of money that the government wastes. That's the big thing there. So thanks.
Rana.
So my passion is to uplift every single Canadian citizen with their standard of living, which we are all suffering. And if you don't believe I'm going to do it for you, you can be darn well sure I'm going to do it for my children. My children have educations, they're working jobs, and yet they're still reaching out to me for grocery money. There are times they're asking me for rent money because the way the economy has been set, it might be profiteering few, but the majority are suffering. So that is the one thing that my focus will be, to actually have policies that do not maintain the status quo, but are actually helping legitimately every single Canadian. Honestly, I want a political revolution. I want to no longer uphold the values that the status quo is holding. The second thing that I'm very passionate about is Canada, to be a human rights violation leader, to stop a genocide that's going on right now in Gaza, and to be a leader for peace all across the world, to stop the wars. I know it's not in our power, but we have the power to speak up. We have the power to vote. And we are not fulfilling that, even though we are signed up. So my passion is for us, for Canadians' livelihood, for Canada's well-being as a nation, and to be a beacon of what it used to be, of light, hope, peace, prosperity. And it is suffering. Our country is suffering and our people are suffering, and I see it every day, and I cannot live by it anymore. So that is what I will be putting forward. And I will be working with people like Darren. Darren, I want to thank you for your kindness, but I plead with you to please make the difference starting now, because it's getting to be just too much to see the suffering here and the suffering abroad. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll have closing statement, and candidates have 1 minute for a closing statement. And Darren, you're first.
I think politicians always say that this is the most important election of our lifetime. We say it every time, but I truly believe this is the most consequential election of my lifetime. We have a president of the United States who is intent on making us the 51st state. He's shown a lack of respect to our leaders. He wants what we have. And we have to stand up. We have to stand up. People at the doors acknowledge there are a lot of issues. But the one that scares them the most, the one that unites them the most, I mean, how great is it that we're seeing Quebecers waving Canada flags? Folks, we are the greatest country in the world. I'm asking for your vote on Monday to continue building this amazing country. I want to thank you all for joining, and I also want to say a quick thanks for their service to Joseph and Keith, who have served their country. Thank you very much.
Michelle.
We're very fortunate to be living in a democratic nation where we elect our representatives in free and open elections. We should not take this for granted. It is precious. It's very important that everyone sees their responsibilities in listening to these various views and platforms and consider what is best for our nation. Your participation this evening is meaningful. Take responsibility for your vote. We have the right to vote. Please look at the policies. Nearly all the topics we've discussed this evening reveal significant failure on the part of the Liberal government from the past 10 years. The affordability crisis, housing unavailability, the near collapse of our military, significant border and security issues. Some people vote for the candidate, others for the party, others for the leader. We're all different. The problem with voting for one of the main parties is their primary loyalty lies with their party, not with you. Vote Michelle Lindsay. I will work for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Keith.
It means a lot that so many of you come out tonight. It's so great to see so many different people. I'm going to recognize that we've now the group of us have now spent about 6 hours together talking policy, very cordially, very nicely. I truly like these people. What I noticed during this whole bit, this whole process, is that I don't agree with any of them on everything, but I agree with each of them on something. One of us, or Isabel, wherever she may be, will get into office. There's one issue that you can work on with them. If we can solve it, that's a win. Dartmouth Cole Harbour has a great history of having opposition members in, and a great history of NDP opposition members. I'd love to be an NDP opposition member for Dartmouth Cole Harbour. Thank you all very much, and I hope you drive safe getting home.
Joseph.
Thank you again for the invitation and the opportunity to sit at this table, these fine people. I agree with Keith. You're not going to make a mistake by voting for anybody. We've known this for a few hours, but we've got the chance to talk quite a bit. But libertarianism is the only centrist and anti-authoritarian philosophies that sits at this table. We sit, I lean, happen throughout most of my life, I lean a little bit left. That's the way I am, but I do have some economic concerns, and there are some right-leaning things that I do agree with. So I finally found a home. I never knew this party really existed until just a few years ago. And I put it where I am. If elected, I promise to promote term limits and end pensions for MPs and unbudgeted spending. If it ain't in the budget, it doesn't get spent. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron.
We're in a church. We should never have to vote the lesser of two evils. We should not have to vote strategic voting. We cannot end up the way our neighbors are now. We have to have electoral reform. We need to have parties that do not use whips to toe the party line and force the candidates, no matter what their conscience is or what their constituents' wishes are. They're forced into upholding the policies that the party. We have to put politics back to the people. It should be people politics and not party politics. And this is why, as a Green candidate, I'm saying when you vote for Green this time, this is your vote for rebellion. You're sending a message to these status quo parties that you are sick and tired of this and you're not going to take it anymore, and they better be prepared because you're putting up someone new to stand up against them. So Green Party is a party for rebellion, so be the rebellion, vote Green. I'm Rana Zaman, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes this evening's event. I just want to take a moment to thank our technical team that's just up at the back there for providing the stream. It will be online on the YouTube channel for Christchurch. Also, there'll be a few minutes to connect with the candidate if you wish, and also there are information cards at the very back. Let's have a round of applause for the candidates. I know we really want to thank you for coming with such, the election is on Monday, and it is truly wonderful that you've all taken the time and had this conversation with us. So a round of applause, please. And just to note that Election Day, of course, is Monday, 8:30 to 8:30, and bring accepted ID. And if you don't have an ID, bring a person who knows you and is in your polling station to vouch for you. Please travel safe, everyone, and thank you so much.